Good afternoon, Grid Nation, and welcome to the Gridlocked Pod. I'm Cassie Martinez, and today we are here with one of the top of the leaderboard consistently players. Needs no further introduction. Blake Kidder, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So, Blake, let me tell you who you are from my perspective. Are you ready for this?
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
So, my first year watching United Grid League 2021, I was on the equipment crew. You were on the Gainesville Wild, and you were one of the biggest characters for me watching the sport. You were hulking, you were the most intense, you were the fastest, you were the biggest. I was like, whoa, like this is like Wreck It Ralph type stuff. Like this is that guy on the Gainesville Wild. And whenever Paul and I used to talk about grid, we always talk in characters. Like who's the character? Like what's the story? And you have always been one of the biggest characters for me. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was an important part of the storytelling that we're gonna do today.
I love it. My daughter, when she was younger and we watched Wreck-It Ralph, I have abnormally big hands. So
Oh
it's,
man, you do.
yeah, so like it's that's funny that's what you compared me to because that's kind of like a joke in our house from time to time.
No way, that's awesome. What a
Yeah,
good movie.
good movie for sure.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you've done this on other podcasts, but we're gonna start fresh here.
Okay.
And let's talk about how you got into athletics
hmm
and then how you found grid and then we'll do your whole story and then we'll talk this season because it's very important.
All right. Athletics for me started at a very young age. I played every sport you can think of. Baseball, basketball, soccer, track. There was one point even freshman year of high school, I wanted to learn how to tumble. So I was, I went to the gymnastics gym and tumbled for about like 2 or 3 months, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me. But I've always, been in athletics. Kind of, being from Texas and my family. Um, just kind of always favored the football track. So kind of went that way. Played college football. Of course, played high school football, college football, and then I got into CrossFit somewhere around 2014. After college, I was kind of missing something. So I fought MMA. I fought Golden Gloves here in Texas in the light heavyweight division. Heck, I even rode bulls for a little bit. I just was trying to find something to fill a void. And man, I found this thing called CrossFit. A couple of my friends were like, man, you'd be really good at it. And I remember going into the gym and I was humbled very quickly. It was a completely different sport. I sucked at it. The movements were hard. I was strong, but what body weight movements, what's that? So I've always liked challenges, and people have always asked me kind of like, what got you into CrossFit? And straight up, it's I sucked at it, and I saw it as a challenge, and I wanted to be good at it. So found the CrossFit route. Did really well, and I still compete in CrossFit. I've been to regionals twice on team. Um, Damn near made the games when I was 35, but due to a hamstring tear a week and a half prior to the games or the semifinals, I was very limited to what I could do. I believe I finished like 42nd, and they took top 30 that year. Um, and then it had to have been, say, 2017. I came across Grid, and I saw this thing online, started watching it on NBC Sports. And dude, I was like, this is my jam. I mean, I remember watching, Taylor Stallings back in the day on the DC Brawlers, Laura Pauling over there with the Phoenix Rise, and just all these so-called characters. I mean, well, what's Danny's last name? I can't remember Danny's last name, but he was the closer in Q4 for the Rise. And I was like, man, I think I can do this. And so I did the grid trials, and I put up a really, at the time, what I was told was a great score. It was like a 83 or 86 overall score. And I started talking to the Phoenix Fire, and that's kind of when it all came to a stop, right? Uh, the grid league kind of slowly kind of went in the opposite direction, and I never got a chance to step on the grid floor with some of the OGs. And so as time goes on, I saw the Florida Grid League come around, and the grid trials came up, and I was like, I'm gonna try this. And as a rookie, I stepped in. Won a couple of the grid trials and won some money. Competed against Taylor Stallings at the time, which was always fun to compete against Taylor. She was always someone I looked up to, and landed a home with Adam and the Gainesville Wild, and we built that team from scratch the first year through the AS1. I did some recruitment in Texas, and there were some former Grid Six players, or maybe they were, I don't even know if they were the Texas Bulldogs. I can't remember if that's correct or not. But Justin Adams was on that team, Megan Adams. You had Laura Poling. Uh, Ruby was on our team. So those athletes had some great experience as well. And this team came together. I mean, we used to joke about the Gainesville Wild was like mainly a Texas team with all of us coming from Texas, or should I say, majority of us coming from Texas. So the journey's been one that. Man, I wouldn't change. Every step of the way, a new door opened and another door closed throughout my career, just to kind of create the opportunities to land where I am today. And I feel every one of those doors that opened and closed had a purpose. And I prayed along the way for those doors to open and close. And so I'm just blessed to be here, be a part of United Grid League, and be a Shark this year.
That's awesome. What a journey that you've gone through in grid itself, from almost playing in the NPGL to not quite, to helping build the Gainesville Wild, to the Southwest Florida Sharks, which you didn't play that season, which we'll talk
Oh,
about, then the
for
Atlanta
sure.
Wild, and then the Southwest Florida Sharks. So talk to me about your progression through the Gainesville Wild to the Sharks to the Wild to the Sharks.
Uh, yeah, I guess there is a progression there, and I always forget that year that I set out. Uh,
I was
Man,
like, "Wait, where's" and I was like, "Wait,
mm,
where's that guy?" Like, he's an important part of, like, watching the experience for me, because you definitely were that guy, like, for me, for watching from a spectator's perspective. I'm like, "Where is he?"
and I love that. I mean, one thing I've always said about grid, um, that gives me an opportunity to be somebody that I don't always get to be. Um, Most of my friends and even my wife, they would consider me. I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I have a very small circle, and I talk for a living as a sales guy, and so sometimes my social battery is just done. But when I get out there on that grid, I wish I could pull up some pictures. I may have to find a couple and send them to you. But in college, I was a character, even on the football field. I was very aggressive. I was mean. I was angry. I mean, I would paint my face like I was the crow on Halloween. I remember one year I painted my face like a skull. Like, I was just that guy. It just gives me a chance to let out whatever demons that are inside and just compete. And so, I was that way on the Wild. So we'll get into that progression. And it was fun. The Wild team was a new team. We grew as a team. We learned as a team and a family. We had great coaches with Adam Muir and Dan, and it was something I was very, very proud to be a part of. We had a couple rough seasons, to say the least. I guess you could say we were in the championship three times, back to back to back years. AS1 tournament against the Lions, and then I think it was the Lions again the second year, or was it the third year? But regardless, we fell short every year, and it was frustrating. It's the league was young. There's always controversial calls, but it was what it was. But I just always had this like sour taste in my mouth that I still wanted more, and there was a job unfinished. So as the team decided to go their separate ways, I had a decision to make. I mean, I knew the team was gonna change hands, and I'm pretty loyal to a fault sometimes, and so I was really loyal to Adam and Dan at the time, but me and Adam had a really close relationship. He was my personal coach. And there were some key players on that team I just didn't want to kind of compete without. So as we get into that transition year, Nick and Sammy had already made their move. They were going to the Sharks, and it was kind of coming down to, what me and Sam were going to do. And so Sam and I got on the phone one day, and I was like, Sam, where are you going? What do you want to do? He's like, man, I don't know, Blake. He's like, but I want to go where you want to go. And so I step back and I'm looking at the competition, and in my mind, I'm going to win a championship. What team I'm going to is the team that I believe can win a championship. And at the time, I truly only felt that two teams could do that, and it was the Lions and it was the Aces. Lions, they had a full stacked roster. I don't think there was a spot for me at that time. And I would have loved to play with a lot of those players and Coach Gold. Her and I have a fun history. But I reached out to Taylor and I was like, man, this would be a dream. Let's play for the Aces. And her and I talked, and it was a good fit, but things just didn't align the way I needed them to commit to play for the Aces that year. And so I talked to Sam again, and I talked to Nick Habich, the previous owner and coach, and he was like, dude, I want you on this team. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So committed to the Sharks. Life happened. Just life. Period. End of story. A lot going on in life, and it wasn't something I could completely commit to. And so I just kind of had to take a step back. I kind of watched my old team at the Wild transition to the Atlanta Wild, and man, they had one hell of a team. They were rebuilding, and things were going over quite well. And again, life happens. I'm stepping back, watching, and then here we go. 2024 season comes around, and I'm back to being a free agent because I didn't play that year. And so I'm sitting back, and I get this itch to want to play again. And I called Dan out of the blue. I said, "What would it take to make a spot for me on this team?" And he was like, "That's not even a question." And I was like, "I think I want to play again." And he was like, "Man, I think you can fit well with this team." He was like, "With you and Griffin together, that is one of the scariest combos this grid has ever seen. Let's do it." And I jumped in with 2 feet. And in all honesty, it felt right because I started with the Wild, and I wanted to win a championship with the Wild. I That's the way I wanted to kind of ride off into the sunset. It was unfinished business, so it only made sense to go back to the Wild. Um, that season was remarkable. I mean, Dan is a phenomenal coach. We all talk about his, you know, ability just to see things differently, the way he analyzes his analytic side of the sport. Him and I vibe really well together because we would sit down and just break down film like we were watching football. Time every movement of every race against the opponents we were playing in previous years, trying to find an edge and transitions. Like we would just geek out to come up with master game plans. And I mean, I had a family. That's one thing about the Wild is, I walked into a family. They welcomed me in. There was a tight knit group there from Blacklisted Athletics, and so I had a family to compete for and play for. And I'll be honest. At times, I kind of felt like a slightly bit of an outsider. Uh, but regardless, when we were on that floor, we were a family. I mean, all of us got close. I mean, Amanda and Sydney and the Billings and me and Tom, and then David. We joke. I laugh about David. We have an inside joke about him and his pineapple on his pizzas. It's gross, but whatever. He still
Yes.
squat. He squats more than me and squats faster than me, so he can eat all the pineapple on pizza he wants. But dude, the last year was just a blast with those guys, and we had one goal as a team, and we held each other accountable. And we pushed and pushed to to win a championships that honestly I believe no one saw us coming. I mean, last year the Sharks, hands down, were the best team in the league. So, we had one hell of a season and we get all the way to the championship match and we're playing the Sharks. And I remember looking across that grid floor and there was a point in that match and I was like, well, there's four previous Wild members on this championship floor. We've been here before. But in my mind, there was only one that was walking away with the championship. Um, and we were ready for a battle. Honestly, I thought last year was going to be a lot tougher match than it was. But, the Wild came to play. And I felt as a leader on the Wild, I could give us an edge just mentally. And honestly, I've told even the Sharks, and the team that I'm on now, I said, we didn't beat y'all just straight up physically. We beat y'all mentally. We took some wind out of their sails early, and I was not willing to let that go. I remember going into the rerun in the triad, and I looked across on that floor, and I looked at Nick and Sam. I was like, "You really want to do this again? Like you really want to run this back on me?" I was being cocky, but that was a big mistake. Like we're just gonna beat you again. And we did, and we won the championship. And I remember just sitting back kind of like a proud dad moment. And I was just watching the joy of my Wild team and just kind of soaking it in because at that point in time, I really felt like I'm closing a door on a chapter of my life. And it was like, I can't even explain that feeling, man. It was just so awesome and fulfilling. And so, I mean, with Dan and Mia and John, I mean, I was really close with those three. I was close with everyone on that team in some way. And each one of those athletes had to impact me as a person. And I valued every moment with those athletes on that team. And, I'm still friends with pretty much everyone. And Tom and I probably still talk the most. I'll joke with Sydney from time to time on Instagram because what's more important to me than just winning that championship was the friendships that I created. And I mean, as a man of God, I always hope to have an impact on them somehow, some way. That's always a big prayer for me when it comes to me and my teammates. So that chapter was closed. So this is where it gets interesting. Fico calls me and he was like, "Hey, you want to play?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know." And he was like, "Look, just think about it. I'll send you the LOI." And I was like, "Okay, I'll think about it." I didn't respond for a couple weeks. I was like just quiet. Wasn't even sure if I wanted to do it. And then one night, out of the blue, I woke up at like 3:34 a.m. My heart was racing and I just had a dream about being on the grid. It sounds so dumb, but it was true. And I was like, I'm missing something. Like, okay, I'm supposed to do this again. So I rolled over. It's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I signed the LOI. In my mind, I'm going, it may be too late, but I signed it anyways, put my phone down, went back to sleep. Ended up getting in touch with Fico the next day, and he was like, is this like, did you really sign this? Like, I got this notification. I was like, dude, signed that at like 3 in the morning. He was like, yeah, I thought that was weird. He was like, is this like for real? And I'm like, yeah, this is for real. Like, I want to do this. Um, and in all honesty, the more I sat there and I thought about it, I wasn't quite sure why I signed it, other than I knew I wanted to be a part of something again. I talked to Tom Soroka about it, and he just kind of laughed at me, and he was like, how did he put it? He said, now you're just the friend helping your other friends pass the test. And it was like sincere and a joke all at the same time. But he was right. I was ready to continue my journey as a shark and help my previous teammates from the wild win a championship. And I was kind of nervous walking into this team because the Sharks have just this vibe. They were a family long before most of us got there. I watched them last year as a team. Not only uh, was they were a community on and off the grid. I mean, they walked into the I remember seeing them walk into the Orlando Center the first match, and they were just dripping in swag, and I was like, damn, like they're a professional. Like this looks professional. They had this image about themselves. They had this swag and confidence about themselves. And as much as other teams didn't like it, I was like digging the vibe because that's what it takes. I missed training camp. I was kind of bummed about it, but again, I was still nervous because I'm like, how am I going to fit in with this team? Like, what is going to be my role? And so, what do? I pray, like, God, please just show me my purpose. How do I fit into this team? Where do you want me to fit in this team? I just want to glorify you. I want to be that man of God, and I want to excel and help others win a championship. Um, and they just welcomed me in with open arms. This is I knew this was going to come up in this podcast, but I can honestly say of all the teams I've played on, the the family vibe and the community amongst this team is something I haven't experienced since college. Between the men and the females and the mix between, it's like we're all brothers and sisters, and we push each other hard. But it's more than just that. It's just the continued support from these guys, on and off the grid, the accountability. Fico and Conce have really just created a a family and just an expectation of like this is who we are and this is how we act. There's so much positivity here. There's just so many good things to say about this team. I'm just like super happy to be a part of it. Um, and it's just, man, I'm just happy to be a part of it, happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to what's going to go down in a couple weeks.
I mean, it's quite a journey, everything that you've been through to come to this team. And let me back you up here because the Sharks, when they first came out under like the leadership of Fico, was crazy. And I didn't know that teams didn't like that. But why the heck wouldn't you like that? Like that's how a professional sports team should come out, and they came out hot, and it was just exciting.
I think
And
it's jealousy, right? I mean, I think we all
yeah,
wanted to
it
have
has
something like
to be.
that.
It
Yeah,
has.
it has to be. I mean, but you look at it now, and a lot of the other teams have like stepped up that game. Dude, look at the Breakers this year and the Palms. Their home and
Yeah,
away jerseys are sick. You watch the Palms show up in these like just they kind of look like baseball jerseys this year.
yeah,
They showed up to the last match, and I was like, dude, that is
those
sick.
are fresh, yeah,
So it's like the league is elevating. The teams are growing. We're getting more support on a sponsor level for our teams, and it's just fun to see the growth that's taking place.
yeah, for sure. And as far as your team chemistry, I mean, it really shows. It doesn't come across on video, but I remember, especially in this Dallas match, there was a moment that had me like my heart just like melted. I went to the back. I went to talk to Zion to make sure I knew how to say his name right because he's always like, "You always say my name wrong," and he has a hard name. So I remember I go to the back and Fico's talking and everybody's locked in, right? And Fico's talking and everybody's listening to him and everybody's like game faces on and it's really intense. And I'm like, heck yeah. And then he finishes talking, and I'm about to go and reach for Zion, and you go, "Everybody come in." And everybody immediately into the tightest huddle I've ever seen. And you're leading a prayer, and everybody has tears in their eyes, and it's so intense. And it was just, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. And I remember looking at that, and I was like, wow, like that is a family. That is so cool. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's that's what it's all about, man. I mean, it's all about the fellowship that we have amongst each other, to glorify our God. And Sam, he's our team captain, of course, and he made the comment. He was like halfway through the match, he was like, "Hey, get everyone together. Like we haven't had a pep talk in a minute." He was like, "But bro," he's like, "ever since we prayed, we've just been just firing on all cylinders." He's like, "But we still got to get a pep talk in. Like get us riled up. Let's go." And so we had another one, but he was right. I mean, we were dialed in going into that match, and the Dallas match, everyone making a big deal about it. But we lost our first race. I was happy that we lost our first race. Good God, I mean, in times of adversity, you got to show others how to act. And I've always talked about that. My comment for years has been ABC, adversity breeds champions. And for me, in a different leadership role on a new team, I wanted to see how we were going to respond, because I think it's pivotal how we respond. And we had responded as a team just as I hoped we would, even more so against the brigade. I mean, look, dude, the brigade, this is probably one of the best brigade teams that I've personally seen. I have much respect to the athletes on that team, and the coaches. They looked awesome. So to have some adversity and some close races going into the championship, what was great for the Sharks. And last year everybody on that team had an undefeated season up to, well, I guess we're still undefeated, but leading up through Dallas, we were still undefeated. And so, learning how to lose, learning how to respond, and how to learn from your mistakes is a pivotal part of growing as an athlete and being a championship caliber team. So to see us respond when we were down, when athletes were injured and athletes were out and not at 100%, and people step up and pick up slack, it was awesome. And so, my team's, we're ready. We're chomping at the bits, for a lot of these guys. Last year still sits really sour, uh, in their stomachs, and they've got something to prove, and they have unfinished business. And that's the last thing you want is a hungry shark on that grid, baby.
It was definitely exciting. I know that I harped a lot on, oh, the Sharks lost their first match and all of that, but yeah, it's all part of the storyline, and it was
Yep.
fun to watch, and we're watching the match unfold, and it's it's clear that as the years progress, the talent level on every team has just gotten better and better. So it's not a testament to, oh, like the Sharks are lacking. It's that no, like these teams are just that good. And for the first time, it's unclear who's going to champs. Like there's
Mhm.
not a clear picture of what, nothing is set in stone, so to speak.
There's never a clear picture in grid. And for anybody that thinks that, they need to watch grid more because
Mhm.
anything can happen on any given day. That is the most stressful part about this damn sport. You can be firing on all cylinders and shit doesn't just go your way. It just happens. You almost have to execute perfect, to come out and win a race, much less a match. And sometimes things have to just fall into your favor. So it's stressful, especially going into these championship weekends where we're having to do two matches on one day. You got a lot to prepare for. Emotions are high. You're increasing your volume. You got to pay attention to your recovery and your nutrition. And just, you've got to be dialed in. And so August 23rd, we're going to see what team is willing to step up to the plate and take home that championship this year.
So let's talk about the last few matches now that we're here. You went
Okay.
undefeated for the first two matches, and you got your first losses in the ringer points against the Bandits, and then you had a bit of a fight with the Brigade. So going into Dallas with the mentality of, okay, we're undefeated, a lot of your teammates have echoed the sentiment of the standard is to win every race. So what
Yeah.
was it like going into Dallas? And of course, you can't have a perfect season, but what was the attitude or the mentality, or how did you keep morale up in those moments?
For me, I again, I knew we were going to lose a race. It was not the matter of if, but when. I I was ready for us to lose because I wanted to make sure we knew how to respond. Uh, to be honest, didn't think it was gonna be the ringer. So Aaron, good job on those burpee black flips. But we thought it was going to be the back squat mirror. I mean, the freaking Bandits have some squatters on their team. Those guys can move some weight, both males and females, but ended up being the Rainers. So, how did we respond? Was the biggest thing for me. And even Conce was in my ear a little bit, kind of giving me some feedback of the team morale when other things were going on. So the Bandits match was a great match. There really wasn't much controversy there. We had individuals that had to learn how to respond and bounce back, and they did exactly that. And I was super happy to see that unfold. But it was really the second match, I think, that tested us. Um, I don't care who you are. The first match of the day is always a challenge when it's 8 a.m. in the morning. I would say majority of the grid athletes train mid morning or afternoons because most of them have coaches or are coaches or just have family life. I generally train at like 6 a.m. So it's a little bit easier for me to kind of get in that mindset. But we came out. We knew it was going to be a fight against the brigade. They're very talented. They've got some athletes that have great range of motion in the sport of grid. That means they're small and fast. So Parker Ford was definitely going to be a challenge. And you know, honestly, like we didn't know we were there to compete. Look at each race within that match as if it's its own, and that's what I told the athletes, before that matchup against the brigade. I'm like, hey, this is our championship. I don't give a shit what happened 24 hours ago or 2 months ago. I don't care what's going to happen a month from now. You have to treat today's match like it's a championship. How are we going to respond in those moments? How are we going to keep everyone's, mental mindset on track? And it's going to depend on the outcome for today. And there were a lot of opportunities for us to have to get our shit together. Um, Man, it sucked because that mirror for me, I got hurt, and then honestly, it got in my head a little bit. I grabbed that bar wrong. I was a little off centered in that first push press. I felt something in this left shoulder and in my pec. And then I got no rep. Then I tried again and I got no rep. And the bar would not extend. And it scared me because I didn't know what happened. I mean, it was painful. Almost to the point I was questioning if I was going to continue the match. But right then and there, I was like, damn, dude, you got to figure out what's going on in your head right now. And all this pump up bullshit talk that you want to put out there, you better listen to you for yourself because your team needs you. And so, Conce and Fico were kind of worried about how I was feeling. They really wanted to protect me for playoffs, but I know my body well enough that I know how far I can push before I've pushed too far. And I want it to be, you know, I want it to be that person for my team. But I'll tell you something what I learned about the Sharks is I've got other players on my team that also can be that player for me as well as everybody else. So as we're going through that match, the echoes where it really set in that I probably should not continue playing. I was supposed to go in on the snatches, and I went to run off the start line, and I felt like a pop in my shoulder, and I was like, "Oh no, did I just tear a labrum and pop an AC joint?" So I came back out, and Z had to finish. And I was sitting there on the bench, really just contemplating what the hell am I gonna do? And my wife texted me, and she was like, she goes, "Come on, Daddy, get your head up." And I didn't see that till after the match. But the cool part during that moment, Roderick grabbed me by the leg, and I'm gonna be honest. He goes, "Get your fucking head up, or go get in the back." And I needed that. It just slapped me for a second, and I was like, "No, dude." I said, "I'm just really thinking about my shoulder." And he was like, "That's fine." And he was like, "But everyone can see you right now." He was like, "So figure out what you need to do." So I went in the back before the ladder. I started warming up, worked with our PT Josh. Fico came over and he's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, dude, I'm very limited. I said, I'll give you 3 bars. And he was like, all right, give me 3 bars and just let's see how you feel. And we'll go race by race after that. Well, y'all saw it on the live stream. You and Taylor called it out, just how I was approaching that ladder. Going into the ladder, I put myself further in the lineup just to kind of give myself some more rest. And as I'm watching, I'm tallying up the score in my head. I'm always watching those things. And I noticed 2 of our athletes that we expected or thought would hit the 4th bar had missed. And in my head, I'm going, if I don't hit all 4 bars, they're going to blank us. And so I get through 1, I get through 2, and I get through 3. And 3 didn't feel bad, but it didn't hurt. And I just was like, suck it up, bro. It's game time. Here we go. This is for the championship, right? Got to live by what I preach here. And I power snatched 255 and it hurt like hell. But right then and there, it was like mentally I was back in it. And so, there was some adversity amongst the guys going in the triad about what we could do or what we couldn't do with me being injured. And, I was just like, look, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to be able to do 5 reps. This is all I can do. David stepped up and he was like, I got you. I'll do the other 5. I was like, just this chemistry started just vibing. And, you know, I made a pivotal mistake going into Q4. I should have went to the middle bar. Roderick should have went to the front because we knew with all the volume Rod was going to have in that triad that if he was in front of me, I could clean up his reps. And when it came time for me to clean up his reps, I had to go all the way back around. And watching on film, we caught the brigade in quadrant 4. And that transition that I made cost us 2 to 3 seconds. And that's about, 2 to 3 seconds, I think, is what they won that race by. So, it was a pivotal point in the match for me. Just to know that, yeah, I am a leader amongst my teammates, but to have teammates also be there for me, it was like, this is something I haven't felt in a while. And that's just what it takes again to win a championship. I mean, it's awesome. We've got something special here, and it's one race and one match at a time going forward. So,
Firstly, it's really cool to hear about that match from your perspective, and you're such a great storyteller. Because I genuinely had no idea that you were injured from the way that you were hitting that snatch ladder. I mean, you were walking up to it. You weren't like doing. I should have known from you not trying to get the fastest ladder time, because that's usually your bag this season. But wow, I never would have guessed out just from my perspective or watching the live stream from how you performed. But
yes.
yeah, those quick second transitions are everything, and also knowing that your teammates can take over your reps, that's part of being a leader as well. So
Mhm.
the fact that you're able to, rely on your teammates and give them, the confidence to do those things in your place, you being someone that's on the top of the leaderboard consistently, to be able to give it to your team because you do have so many people on your team that not necessarily can replace you, but can pick up where need be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, my mindset is you're always replaceable. And we've got some young bucks on our team. Z's learning this sport, and I'm telling you, Z's
Crazy.
a, oh my God, don't sleep on that kid. He has got some incredible strength. His overhead strength is amazing. He's got great mobility. He knows how to move fast. He's learning the sport, and you're watching him evolve. It's been so cool to see our gymnastic specialists on the men and women's side. They're so freaking strong, and they can do so much. So shout out to all of them. I mean, we even got Q training. Like, I don't know if you know Q and his past, but my dude doesn't train and could do everything, but he's dialed in. Oh, don't even get me started. I just found that out. The dude literally would just show up
Not
to a
fair.
match and he would show up to a match and compete. But now he's training. Uh, saw a video of him training the other day. I guess it was like right after work. He was still in his work clothes, just getting some ring work done. And I'm like, dude, we're dialed in, man. I mean, this team is special. The women's side, I don't even want to talk about them. I'm tired of them kicking our ass in all the damn triads. We have we have an inner team competition that I opened my mouth up early in the season. And let's just say the girls probably took it a little personal and have kicked our ass every time. I can't even argue it. I mean, we got close to them in the the match against the Bandits. They beat us by like a couple hundredths of a second, maybe a second. I tried to get away with calling them out that they only had 12-foot rope climbs, but yeah, that didn't go over well. But yeah, I mean, our our women are just straight units. Hell, some of our girls can actually move the same weight the guys can. Not many teams can say that. So yeah, this team is something special. And FICO, you got to give respect where respect is has been earned. And Fico has history in the grid, and he's been a player for quite a few years, so he has that experience. He was coached under Adam Muir as well in the early days, and to watch him transition over to a coach has been something interesting to see. And again, that was something for me was, am I going to be able to vibe with this coach? Because I'm not a quiet athlete. I mean, even in my day to day job, I do challenge and ask why, or sometimes even push a little bit because I'm passionate and I really want you to think, from a coaching perspective, like, listen to your athletes. Um, are we doing what's right? Is there another way? And I'm always challenging those things, not because I want to be right, but I just want to cover everything. Um, and Fico is, I mean, he's that coach. He opens it up to the team. We communicate as a whole. He pushes us in his own ways. He knows us as athletes. I mean, he texted me the other day and just kind of lit a fire up underneath my ass. And I was like, hold on a second. You did that on purpose. But yeah, the overall chemistry here is awesome. It's been super fun to be a part of.
That's awesome. Shout out to Fico and Conti. I mean, they're putting together a heck of a team. And it's the funnest to watch. I mean, everything from, like how you guys come in, your chemistry, your output on the grid. It's just a lot of fun. But that being said, is there any challenges that came up when joining the Sharks? I know you maybe touched on a few lightly, but is there anything that maybe was tough about the chemistry that was a little bit different from what you're used to, considering you were with you were only with one team and competing with one team for that whole time? Because even the time that you
Mhm.
signed with the Sharks, you didn't play.
Yeah, no. No, not at all. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I was welcomed with open arms into this team. I mean, Sam, Nick, Sammy, Chelsea, they were all happy to have me become a part of the team because we were actually in a little group chat together the year I was looking to join the Sharks. But the Sharks and the OG Wild always had a vibe together. You can go back, and there was I forgot what match it was, but you can see me sitting on the sidelines, um, and me and Adam were there just kind of watching the Sharks play another team, and it had the flip sled, and Nick Habbage was actually playing, and we're over there like pumping him up and just like cheering for him, because there's always been that friendly, chemistry between the Wild and the Sharks back in the old days. I remember actually there was one of my last matches with the Wild. We all went and had dinner together. That's the first time I met Kristen from the Sharks. So coming into this team, it was with athletes that I knew there was good chemistry with and there were good vibes. So it was easy for me to come in. It was just, man, I just, coming into a new team, and like you said, I'm a character, I'm a personality. My boss will say I'm very type A and can be intimidating. I really was, I had to be careful because I didn't know what I was walking into. And not that that's a bad thing, but I didn't want to piss anybody off. I wanted to make sure that, I knew my role and I knew who my teammates needed me to be, not who Blake wanted to be. And I think that's something I've learned over the years, just from a maturity standpoint. Um, I've learned to control my emotions a little bit more on the grid, and to take a different, look at things from a different perspective. Yeah, I'm still loud and I'm exciting. Hopefully to watch, because I mean this isn't a sport for entertainment. And you look at any sport. Look at Terrell Owens or Deion Sanders in the NFL. You look at LeBron James. And who else we can name from basketball world?
KD.
But
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Kobe Bryant, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's those personalities, and I've hoped there comes a day that when I leave this league, I leave my imprint on it. I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm gonna be remembered for, but I hope I'm an athlete that people look back and go, "Oh, I remember him," or "Man, he was a good person." Not just remembered for me for what I did on the floor, but more for the person that I was. And that's important to me.
That is awesome. And I'm sure people will remember you for that, especially the teams that you've been on and the people that you've had such an impact on being in close proximity of you. And I remember when you first signed to the Sharks the first time, and it was with Sammy and Nick, and it was just like the biggest trade in Florida Grid League history. And I was so stoked about it. And I was like, man, like this guy does so many things and has like so many roles on the team that this is going to be like a huge upset that he's on this team. But I want to hear from your perspective. What is like your favorite element in grid?
Man, it's actually changed from year to year. Um, I've had the opportunity to play in more partner forwards this year than I ever have, but that also I feel is because I've evolved even more as an athlete, to be able to move in certain areas even better. Uh, but if are you asking for a movement or a race?
Why don't we do both? If I remember you and like who you were, like when I first met your character, you were like flip sled guy. Like that was like your bag.
Yeah, I've always loved the heavy objects. Honestly, if we're gonna pick a movement, I think it's hands down. I think it's pretty known that the power clean, just any clean, you put a clean in my hand, a barbell, and say clean it, I'm all about it because you know I have a very strong power clean, strong squat clean, and the fact that I can just grip and rip is something that I like to be able to hang my hat on. Because look, are there stronger guys in the league? Absolutely. But I'll go toe to toe with them because you're not going to grip and rip and set up as fast as me.
Yeah.
Me and JoJo were joking about that the other day. Talking about potential chance to do a ringer against each other. JoJo's one of those guys that's extremely fast as well, and I have so much respect for Joe. But JoJo has a better snatch than I do. He just does. He's technically probably a little bit more sound, and that's a stronger movement for him. But like the cleans, that's my jam. I'm happy to see that the deadlift clean ladder got a little bit heavier this year. Um, so yeah, cleans for races. Um, Honestly, I can't give you one race that's my favorite. I'm gonna have to give you two. I love the ladder because I love the speed of it. Love the speed of it. It's fun to go fast and make heavyweight look light. If Mather's listening, I still think we should put a gold bar in quadrant 4 for bonus points at a heavier weight. That would be awesome.
That sounds sick.
That'd be sick, right?
That would
That'd be
be.
sick. Yeah, you have two bars sitting there. You take your path. Which one you gonna hit, big
Yeah.
dog?
One or the other. Go
Uh,
for it.
exactly. But honestly, I like the triad. The triad is probably my favorite race. Um, man, it's CrossFitty. It can be heavy. It's strategic. It's my team versus your team. Let's rock and roll. And I've always been very prideful amongst my male teammates to say, hey, we don't lose triads. Have we lost triads? Absolutely, it happens. But it's a mentality that I like to step on that line and have from the start. Um, that one's and it can get nasty, and that's why I like the triad because sometimes how how willing are you to get uncomfortable? Because this shit's gonna hurt. You may have to do four elements. You may have to miss out on transition and stay on the floor to help your team win that race. And so it's kind of a mind fuck at times, and I like that. I like that challenge, but that's just the grit and grind in me. That's the CrossFit athlete in me, and that's just I like a challenge, and so I really enjoy the triad.
That's not the one that I would have picked for you. But you're definitely really good at the triad. You're one of the strongest people that can move the fastest on the grid, I would say.
I
So it
appreciate that.
definitely fits. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick one because I could definitely say like, oh, I love the mirror because it's just moving a barbell fast as hell, and I do. I love the mirror. I love the echoes because I love competing with my teammates, the females. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Sharks have the best females in the league. You cannot compete with us. Numbers state it. That it's factual. I love that. So it's kind of nice to have the girls on the floor to carry a little bit of the weight. I mean, look, the grid is, it doesn't matter what race it is. They're all fun for me. I may favor one or two, but they're all fun.
That's awesome. Kristen Bonito's in the chat, and she said Lady Sharks undefeated. So I put it up earlier, but I had to put it up again to shout out Kristen.
Yep. Yep.
Kristen's another OG Shark that I love to watch. But you said that you were injured earlier, and then I kind of skimmed over it, so I want to double back.
Hmm.
How are you
Yeah.
now after that?
Uh, I'm better. I'll be honest, after the match, I couldn't lift my arm up over my head. Like this was, I couldn't do it. I couldn't reach across and grab a shaker bottle. Um, I was scared. I know Fico and Conce probably don't want to hear that because it wasn't that bad until like 2 to 3 days after. Um, but it was bad. I think really what it's come down to was a strained anterior delt and bicep tendon and pec major. Like all this area, just something locked up and was strained. The flight home was miserable, ton of inflammation. The last week, I did a lot of legs. I was in Utah for work. Flying and sleeping was miserable. Sitting in a chair, just crunched forward, was really painful. But shout out to one of my sponsors, Echo Physical Therapy, that got me right. Been working with them, and shout out to our trainer Josh, who's always on the sidelines. He's the one that kept me moving throughout the match. But today was the first day that I felt like I could actually train overhead, and so went through the snatch ladder today, no problems. Went through the championship partner forward with the overhead squats and pistol thrusters, no problem. So, I'm starting to put into the movements that we're going to be seeing in a couple weeks. But I'm feeling good now. I mean, I can at least put it under a load. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm also being smart about it. Years past, I would have went straight to the loads that I'm going to be lifting. Uh, but just kind of working through the movements, uh, paying attention to my movement quality, increasing speed throughout the movement, because that's how we get injured. And I'm 40, damn near 40. I'm 39 years old. I'm not 33 or 35 or in my 20s like half the other, men in this damn league. So I've got to take some time to recover a little bit more than others, and I got to be a little bit smarter in my training than years past.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad that you're being smart about it because we definitely don't want to repeat that. Even though I didn't notice it, I don't want to. I don't want to repeat that. And we don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
Even last season, you had something happening with your hip during that first match. I never forgot about that because I remember talking to you, and you were warming up, and you're like, "Yeah, I feel great. I'm ready to crush it with the Wild." And then I was like, "Blake, what happened? You never stepped onto the grid." And knock on wood,
Yep.
praying, to God that that doesn't happen again, but it was
Yep.
definitely a scary one. Um,
It was.
but
It was.
yeah, so let's call it now though. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference. I know that you're gonna have the Sharks taking the Western Conference. I'm not even going to ask you that question. That would be disrespectful.
Yep.
Um, but who do we have in the Eastern Conference facing against you potentially in the championship?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I, I can't even stir the pot. I can't give you one team over the other. Both of these teams have been very impressive. Sitting down and watching film, the Lions look strong. Eric's healthy again. Paula looks great. They've got a great teams, a couple new athletes. DeMatte's back. He has a big influence on their male side. And then the Breakers, you cannot sleep on the Breakers right now. Shout out to their team owner and coach, and Matt. Matt's the new player development. I don't know what Matt role is. He just walks around in a suit and looks pretty. But regardless, tip my hats to them. They put together a team, and they've got some awesome athletes. They're hitting on all cylinders. They look really strong. Really what I've learned about grid over the years is depending on the match format, it can favor one team or the other. There's always some roadblocks in each one of those matches. And so for me, it's really dependent on how they overcome those roadblocks as a team. Do they have the depth to be able to complete certain movements under fatigue? And I think this first match for both the East and the Western Conference, it's going to be close. In some cases, on the gymnastics side, I would say that the Lions definitely have an advantage. So when you look at some of those movements throughout the Echo, it's kind of like, okay. But when you look at the triads that are in place, you look at the partner forwards. You look at the mares, even like the breakers definitely have the strength advantage, but it's a pretty evenly matched semifinals. I would say probably for the first year in a long time, you have the semifinals in the East and the West, that it's a nail biter. It is going to be a competition from start to finish. Uh, I know that's probably not the answer you were looking for. Uh, I don't want to favor one team over the other personally because I don't, and I have friends on both teams. Uh, but it's gonna be a damn good match.
It definitely is. I have my opinions, but I can't share them because 'cause I'll make people angry. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun for sure. What is it that you're most looking forward to, whether it be an element, whether it be, a race, a moment? What is it that you as an athlete, as a person, part of this new family are looking forward to?
Um, that's a hard question. I don't know if there's one specific thing. I mean, cliche, right? I'm looking forward to winning a championship with my team, hands down. Uh, I'm so focused on today and not tomorrow. I'm focused on what I need to do today. I'm focused on what my teammates need to do today. And I just want to keep my head down one day at a time, one day of training at a time, one race at a time, the first match, and then we'll get to that championship. And then we'll have to focus all over again. In a perfect world, I'm looking forward to winning that championship with my teammates, uh, new and old teammates, essentially, right? Uh, the Sharks, for all of us to win one as a family, but then me, Nick, Sammy, and Sam to kind of check our box off like, hey, we started our grid experience together. Here it is. We've won a championship with a even bigger family now. So definitely looking forward to that. And that's honestly, that's probably the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is just, checking that box one more time. Um, but I can't lose focus on today. You got to stay present. You can't worry about the past. You can't look into the future. You got to be present, or you're gonna miss what's right in front of your face. And in all honesty, that's what life has taught me a lot in the last 5 years: is stay present.
That is awesome. I love that. And that's really part of your character. Daniel Baugh, shout out Daniel. He's like Blake Kidder, the definition of intensity. And everything that you've answered points to nothing less. So thank you so much for your time. Is there
Yeah, man.
anything that you want to say before we hop off of here and I let you go back to enjoying the moment and attacking today?
No, I think we said a lot today, man. I mean, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in and listened. I want to thank everybody in the United Grid League for their time and efforts to give us athletes the opportunity to go out there and perform. And I want to thank everyone that tunes in to the matches, especially you need to tune in August 23rd. Share it with your friends. Let's have the biggest live stream for championship weekend that we've ever had. We're going to bring, some intensity to the matches that hopefully no one has ever felt or seen before. And we're going to keep you on the edge of your seat. So, I just appreciate what you're doing here. I love these podcasts. I love the growth of this sport. It's a big part of who I am. That intensity I get to show out there on the grid each and every time I step out there. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I got to thank my wife. She gives me the opportunity to go compete. She's at home holding the fort down and watching me every step of the way. And she is my biggest critic, but my biggest support system. And without her, I couldn't do any of this. And without her, I wouldn't want to do any of this. So, family is important. And, you know, I just, yeah, it's a wrap.
Amen. I love that. Let's do it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being you and being the character on my grid journey for me to, want to tell stories. You're a big part of that for sure. And thanks for being you and good luck in the playoffs and potentially championships.
Oh, there's no potential, sweetheart. It's coming.
gotta
I
I
appreciate it. You have a great day.
gotta keep it respectful.
For now. Talk to you later.
See ya.